90 days ago, I quit sugar, caffeine, and alcohol. Now, there are a ton of health reasons out there for why someone might quit all three of these things, and that was partially why I did do this challenge, but it wasn't the main reason. For me, it was more so about not wanting to rely on external things to feel a certain way. We are fed all these things from quite a young age. It is so normalized to have these things as part of our diets. And don't get me wrong, I loved the feeling of having all of those things. But as I've evolved and continued to work on myself, it doesn't make sense to me that I need caffeine to feel alive, that I need to intoxicate myself to be myself, and that I need 20 grams of added sugar to feel happy. All these things which seem to be so normalized, but yet there is such a great disconnect between what they actually do to us. Alcohol is one of the leading causes of preventable death and disease worldwide, and yet we see it everywhere. Sugar is up there with the leading cause of heart disease, obesity, and even aging is accelerated. Now, I don't want to come across as anti all these things. I'm purely just questioning reality and the world we live in. How can I feel just as good or even better without consuming sugar, caffeine, or alcohol? Now, as my life has progressed, I have also progressed alongside a habit of snacking, especially sugary foods. It was getting kind of excessive. I couldn't sit down and, do something without giving myself that spike that we get. Sugary foods weren't just being eaten for the occasional dessert. They were being eaten in most of my foods. Some more obvious, like Nutella on crumpets, and some less obvious, like ravioli. It was in my fish. Now, starting out with these 90 days, I felt quite lost on what I could eat and what I couldn't eat. 60-70% of what I ate had some form of sugar in it. So I had to make a lot of changes, and the first couple weeks did not come easy, A lot of cravings and missing that instant dopamine hit that I was used to giving myself. It definitely took adjusting to, being a lot more aware of what I was eating and reading labels and going out and asking if there was added sugar in certain meals. For me, I was finding that I struggled so much to put effort into things that I was doing, like creating videos and doing daily tasks was becoming hard because I was so used to that dopamine hit that I would give myself. It was like every time I would push through one craving after another, I was regaining energy back. Being able to sit there and, do a simple task became more and more simple. And I think, each habit requires a certain amount of energy. And I then had all this new energy that I could put into more useful things than sitting there and eating a tub of salted caramel ice cream. Eating organic, healthy foods brought way more enjoyment than it used to ever bring me. And it was honestly amazing. I was gaining so much more energy from the foods I was eating, and just in the tasks that I was doing, just being able to enjoy that was really profound for me because I hadn't really ever been able to do something like that. I'd say out of the three, this was by far the hardest one. Prior to this, there was a point in my life where I was consuming caffeine like it was water. I was, going to the gym, taking 2 scoops of pre-workout that contained, 3 cups of coffee per scoop. At this point, I realized if I kept going like this, it was going to become harder for me to get out of this hole if I didn't act on it. Now, I do believe that there are many benefits that come with consuming caffeine. Like the feeling speaks for itself. Who wouldn't want to walk through life without a double shot espresso sitting in their system? But again, there are the downfalls that come with it. I think many of us know this, and for me, for where my life has been heading and the intentions that I had set out for this 90 days, it just purely made sense for me to eliminate this from my life, and the negatives outweighed the positives. Throughout the 90 days, I really wanted to produce all the energy that I needed internally and through non-stimulating natural foods, which was quite out there for me. Eliminating this was not easy. The first weeks sucked. They really sucked. Constantly dozing off at any attempt to try be creative or do some form of work. My mind felt like a cloudy fish tank that had been left to rot for several years. To be honest, this lasted until the first couple months were over. And I think what pushed me through those first couple months was purely just having trust in my own word, just like a relationship with somebody else and them lying and not following through with what they say. We do this with ourselves, and it's probably the most important relationship is ourselves. And I think for me, it's vital that I do everything that I tell myself. In those couple months, I told myself I'm not going to have caffeine. And I was able to do that. And eventually I started to feel some form of normality in my life. I was able to sit there and do something and create stuff and work and go to the gym, and all those things that I used to do and feel great doing were starting to be how they used to be. And that created just such a level of accomplishment for myself. Like, I felt so great because I was feeling how I would feel with caffeine, but without it. This really just showed me that I don't need caffeine. In all honesty, out of the 3 things that I've abstained from, it was probably the easiest thing to give up. It was great being able to stretch my comfort zone and my boundaries, but for me it was much more about seeing who I could become underneath those layers of alcohol. I realized that a lot of things I do in my life are caused solely by seeing other people do it, and just by having this realization for me has caused me to question and realize that this just doesn't align with me. And especially alcohol, I knew that I was consuming alcohol because mainly other people did as well, and there's such a level of normality around it. It definitely would take the edge off my social anxiety, and it would make me more confident, but it would also lower the quality of my interactions. To be honest, I don't think there is anything wrong with drinking, but I really believe in deeper connections with others, and by having alcohol and going out and being in certain environments, I just wasn't able to do that. And by stopping alcohol, I wasn't just finding myself in clubs and bars, and I was finding myself at different events and meeting people like-minded and connecting with people on a deeper level, and my interactions were of higher quality, and this was really beautiful for me. I can achieve a way of living and a way of being without needing external substances, and I didn't need to intoxicate myself to be myself. I guess throughout all of this, I'm just trying to find where I stand with each of these things that are such a big part of our society and our diets. And for the meantime, I'm gonna say that I will stick to how I am and not have sugar, caffeine, or alcohol as part of my life and diet. Again, I don't want to get too caught up in one way of thinking and one way of living. I'm trying to live my life through a curious lens and through an open-minded lens, and I also don't want to fall into beating myself up if I ever do have any of these things, and it will inevitably happen at some point. But for now, I will continue as is because I felt good and I saw what I am capable of doing and feeling. And whether this is something that you would try or you are trying, whether you agree with some things that I've said in this topic or whether your opinions differ from mine, I would absolutely love to hear what you have to say and what you think. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.